Well, let's turn our attention now to what the United States has said in respect of Nigerian elections. So the United States is taking steps to impose visa restrictions on specific individuals in Nigeria for undermining the democratic process during the just concluded 2023 general elections. In a statement by the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Antony Blinken, he said that, quote, the United States is committed to supporting and advancing democracy in Nigeria and around the world. Today, I'm announcing that we have taken steps to impose visa restrictions on specific individuals in Nigeria for undermining the democratic process during the Nigeria's 2023 election cycle. End of quote. Well, those words are filled with a lot of issues and a lot of implications, of course. America's intervention on our elections. Who are these people? It wasn't clearly stated in that statement released by the U.S. Secretary of State. But then, let's get some perspectives into this matter. The decision of the United States, what it means on our electoral process. This is not the first time we've seen this happen. I'm being joined tonight on the program on this matter. Hamza Lawal, who is one of those, the leaders of one of the organizations who deployed hundreds of people on the field to observe the election. During the election, Hamza Lawal is a chief executive of Connected Development. He joins me live from London virtually. Thank you so much, Hamza, for joining us tonight. Does this come to you as a surprise, the decision of the United States to take, it does look like a promise being made and promise kept, that they will place a restriction of visa restriction on Nigerians who undermine the electoral process, and now they have announced that they have done that. Does this come to you as a surprise?
And no, it doesn't, and thank you for having me, Sharon. The U.S. government, before the election, had said that they're monitoring our elections closely, and they would not relent in putting a ban and holding people to account who try to interfere in Nigeria's democracy. And today, the Secretary of State have made this announcement. The next, for me, is what should have come with this announcement is the names of these people who they've placed under the visa ban. Because, we cannot run the country without consequence. Before, during, and after the elections, we saw people peddling fake news. We saw people interfering with the independent work of INEC. We saw people colluding with security agencies. We saw politicians empowering thugs and miscreants and hoodlums, to disrupt the elections. I'm really glad that the American government have taken this bold first step in placing a visa ban. I want to urge the United Kingdom government and, our partners under the European Union to also follow suit. These people cannot cause mayhem and instability in Nigeria and go and find safe havens in America or other parts of the world when they cannot guarantee and ensure peace and prosperity. So this is really commendable, and America has shown that truly she's a friend to Nigeria, and she's willing and committed to supporting Nigeria's democracy as we evolve.
So there are likely the possibility of speculations on who these personalities are and to what extent their roles, and how far is the United States investigation, what evidence do they have to impose this kind of ban? And you had suggested that they should name names. What consequence would it be if they had named names? They don't have a history of naming names for those who they play visa ban on.
I think that it also goes further to be more transparent in this process, but also send a signal that there are consequences to action. If they had named this name, then Nigerian people can actually also know that even if our government and some institutions are not acting, the international community are watching and they have acted, particularly the American government. I think it would have gone a long way. Yes, I can understand that judicial process is ongoing and maybe they're not publishing this name so they don't interfere with that process. But I think that they owe it to the Nigerian people who are their friends and partners. Because what we have even taught is some of these people who interfered in our election process should have been prosecuted or even brought behind bars by the Nigerian police, which is the apex law enforcement agency. I want to also believe that these people who have been placed under a visa ban by the American government should not only be politicians. We saw private citizens. We saw former lawmakers. We saw even law enforcement agencies that are saddled with the responsibility to ensure peace and stability in the country, who colluded with corrupt politicians and mischief makers. But again, this is a right step, and this is one step that would lead to other steps by the American government, I believe. But I think in due time they should publish these names, and we should know, so that as civil society, what we would now do is inaugurate them in the hall of shame.
So, I mean, there are a lot of consequences, I assume, but what, because I would like to come to what America could also do if they have evidence that these people really undermine the electoral process and they justifiably so, and they have reasons to punish them for this, for not allowing them to enter their country. But what would a visa restriction be on some of these persons? They don't enter into America, so what? I mean, what are the implications? And I mean, what can we learn from the decision of America?
Well, we know that some of these countries in the past have played a role of safe havens for these politicians. We know these politicians like to go to America to access healthcare. We know that their families and cronies are there. Some of them, their kids also school in America, and their family members live and have investment in America. We also know some of these politicians actually invest heavily in that economy. So I think this, goes a long way in denying them access to quality lifestyle, denying them access to healthcare. Maybe in the future, they might also want to add people that are connected to these politicians. Then there will be pressure from their family members to ensure that they do the right thing and not interfere with that democracy. But it actually goes a long way when you want to access freedom of movement or even access to the world power, and then you're denied that access. And that's why I'm also calling on the United Kingdom government and also the European Union government. Let us deny them that safe haven, so that they can ensure that, we have peace and prosperity and no one trample upon our democracy that is emerging, so that we can enjoy peace and prosperity, and then we can ensure that the Nigerian people enjoy the dividends of democracy. So everyone should stay in their home and let them invest in their homes and in the country, so that the Nigerian people can benefit, and then we can have quality lifestyle, quality healthcare, education, and don't give them that leverage or that privilege to enjoy good healthcare and other social amenities beyond the country that they've caused instability.
So, I mean, let's look at it in a broader sense. Anybody who undermines our democracy should be brought to book, isn't it, Amzad? And they should be punished duly under our laws. And I'm assuming that if America has any information or evidence against some of these persons, shouldn't they be working with the Nigerian authority to really bring these persons to book, other than these visa restrictions?
Well, I know that the American government and the Nigerian government have diplomatic channels in which they communicate. I want to believe that the Minister of Foreign Affairs would have reached out to the Nigerian mission in New York or in DC to get the Department of State to provide these names of the people and open that diplomatic channels to get information about the role of these people, the evidence that the American government have gathered, and how they can work with the Nigerian authority, particularly the law enforcement agencies, and then prosecute them under the Nigerian laws. I want to believe that these channels are open, and the Nigerian government must leverage on this channel if they want to show commitment towards Nigeria's prosperity, stability, and democratic deepening.
So what lesson do you think we can take away from this posture of the United States?
I think the lessons we can take away from it is, what are our values? Because today the American people and government are showing us that their values and their consequence to actions and inactions, and how this also impacts our democracy. I think the lessons here is, as Nigerian people, as Nigerian state, what is our values? Are we running a country without consequence? Are we saying that everything goes? Are we saying that we're not governed by the rule of law? Are we saying that people, individuals are more stronger than institutions. So the lesson here is, as a people, we need to reflect and think and not allow external parties or our friends in the international communities take action before us. We must seize the moment, seize the opportunity, own our democracy, and take those actions. And those actions must come with consequences. And our government must rise to the occasion. I think these are some of the lessons. And as citizens, we must continue to strive in the face of advice. We must continue to strive. We must hold strong to our values and ensure that Nigeria, each and every one of us, play our role in nation building.
There has been this back and forth between the police, INEC, at some point where INEC will say, we don't have the power to prosecute. And the police will say it is incumbent on INEC to take action when there is an election offender. And it comes to one thing, that the Electoral Offences Commission has been proposed severally, and those, people who have brought up this idea to say we need an Electoral Offences Commission to be able to prosecute electoral offences in Nigeria. That has not seen the light of day. The present National Assembly has been working on that, and I've had a series of conversations on this program to that effect, asking those who are in charge, the lawmakers, on the need and how the status of that bill, which I'm not sure President Buhari has just a few days left in office, and I'm not sure that bill is on his table just yet. That means we are on a longer ride in prosecuting those who are responsible in undermining our election. And for those who are arguing that, look, already there are sufficient positions of the law in our electoral law to punish electoral offenders. What's your take for someone also who will monitor this process, and what are your views on the atmosphere within to punish those who rig elections in Nigeria or undermine our democracy?
I think the 2023 general election have provided us an opportunity to test the 2022 Electoral Act signed by Mr. President, and stakeholders who've identified holes and gaps that would work closely with the 10th National Assembly to close. But, you know, Sheon, I'm also against the Electoral Offences Commission. You see, we're currently running a current expenditure where even some MDs or government agencies cannot pay salary. We have so many MDs, and a lot of them are duplicating efforts of each other's. So I think that the Nigerian police, which is the apex law enforcement agency, if they're empowered, given the needed resources and the manpower, I believe that they can rise to the occasion. But I also think that is INEC truly independent? And, you know, let's not provide lip service and because they have independence in their name. I think we need an independent INEC, that politicians and elected officials, even the president, cannot interfere with the mandate of INEC, where they have their first-line charge resources and they're able to access these resources in good time. And I think when we amend the Electoral Act of 2022, maybe we can empower INEC to go a step further, working closely with the Nigerian police, so that people who are caught wanting on electoral offences can be prosecuted in no time. And maybe when we put the time limit, so that when INEC gather evidence and work with the Nigerian police, we can get justice in due time and put these people behind bars. Because if we achieve this, then we'll see decline in electoral-related offences, we'll see decline in violence during election, and even interference by mischief makers and corrupt politicians.
I mean, not only that people stuff ballot boxes, snatch ballot boxes, they write result and rewrite result, change the result, delay the process of election. There were some tactical ways of undermining the electoral process, some new ways we saw emerge in our electoral process in the last election, which are, for a long time, it will challenge the relationships between Nigerians. A lot of people have been badly divided along religious and ethnic lines. Politics has really dented people's relationships, and I've seen in a very terrible way how Nigerians could react and act towards themselves just in the name of politics. Is brought out the worst of us this election. I mean, these are other dimensions which maybe the Americans that are looking at imposing visa restriction may not envisage. These are new methods. These are new ways by which people have suffered the others and trampled upon the rights of others. What are your perspectives on some of these that have emerged, perhaps that we did not imagine that will crop up during our elections?
You know, Sean, as humans, we will continue to evolve, and people will continue to find holes and gaps and leverage on religion and ethnicity to try to divide us. But I think that from some of the lessons, as a country, we need to move forward, and we need to move forward quickly. I think we should take a leap from Plateau State, where they have a National Forgiveness Day, and where they talk about issues that have divided them and forgive people and take lessons from that. You see, Sean, I also traveled a few weeks ago to Rwanda, Kigali. This is a country that they have the same culture, they speak the same language and look like the same. But, you know, within 100 days, over 1,000 people were killed, you know, because of ethnicity and that difference amongst themselves. But when you look at this deeply, it's also about economic empowerment. See, when people have jobs and they're busy, they would not find themselves as tools to be used against the state or against, you know, opposition. So I think really we need to reflect, find a way to move forward and forgive ourselves. But I think closely we need to now see the importance of religious and traditional institutions, how we can also sensitize people and make them understand that, you know, election itself, it's a process. The debate, it's a process. The campaign is a process. It is not the end result. You know, as citizens, and each and every one of us have a role to play. You know, we've come forward past this 2023 election. For me, I want to believe that the president-elect, once sworn into office, can rally around people, and firstly the campaign around reconciliation and peace, you know, because I think that he, even if he doesn't have popular votes, but he has the highest votes and has the mandate of the popularity vote. So I think he needs to lead that campaign of national unity and reconciliation. I want to believe that he would even reach out to his opposition and see how he can have a government of national unity and work with people who don't even believe in the same ideologies as his. You see, Nigeria cannot afford to remain stagnant. We need to move forward. The world has left us behind, and we need to catch up and even, you know, move past some of these world countries that we were even doing better than. So for me, I don't want to dwell on religion and ethnicity. I want to believe that Nigerians, we've learned our lessons, and we need to grow from those lessons and deepen our democracy. Our democracy is very young and we're still evolving. But we must learn lessons from countries like Rwanda. We must take lessons from other countries who have made the same mistake, but not repeat this mistake. But rather, let peace reign. Let's shelve our swords and let's reconcile. Besides, you know, first is our country, and this country has binded us. And let's look out for the things that unite us more than the things that have divided us. But our leaders must come together. Civil society, media,